Welcome. I want to have this live stream. I want to have a conversation about police officers and sheriff's deputies and troopers and law enforcement in general. Law enforcement, you are the enemy of the people. I strongly believe that U.S. law enforcement in its entirety is the enemy of the people. And here's why I say that. Because when I look at all the police misconduct settlements, when I look at all the misconduct, when I look at all the money that police officers cost taxpayers, when I look at the fact that it costs us more to maintain U.S. law enforcement than it does to maintain our own military. When I look at the fact that when it comes to police misconduct settlements, some of the police misconduct settlements are totaling out the entire budget of some small countries. Did you know that? Did you know that New York pays out billions upon billions upon billions of dollars because police can't seem to behave? Did you know that? Did you know that when it comes to U.S. law enforcement, there is so much misconduct to the point where there's recent news reports about police harming women, people who they work with. Did you know that? Did you know there is a countrywide scandal going on right now with U.S. law enforcement, whereas you can't trust them around there. You can't trust police officers to not do anything to their own coworkers. Did you know that? Did you know that right now in this country, there's a bunch of women who are trying to escape U.S. law enforcement because some of their spouses are police officers. And so as a result of that, they can't exactly escape U.S. law enforcement because the very person that's chasing them happens to be a cop. You know that we have a particular problem in this country, whereas if you are underage or if you are happen to be a certain age, if a cop is after you, it's hard to escape them. Did you know that was actually a thing in this country? Did you know that there's horror stories? Did you know that there was a recent story happened in California from a cop who catfished a family, right? Catfished them. And he showed up and the whole family's gone now. Did you remember that? A lot of you don't seem to remember that, but that just happened. That just happened recently. And there's story after story after story of cases just like that. So many cases just like that. Why do you think that is? Do you think that it's possible that all the people who support police officers, they are a part of the problem? Do you think that all people out there who support police officers, they don't realize that their support of police officers is what allows this case to continue, right? Because suppose for a second that there was as much dislike of police officers as there was for, let's say, Comcast customer service, right? Do you think that police officers will be getting off right now? See, I'm in Washington State, and there's a Pierce County sheriff here in Pierce County. His name is Ed Troyer, right? Ed Troyer is a white sheriff here who lied on a black newspaper carrier. It's clear that he lied, and he got off on a technicality, saying that he called a direct law enforcement line and he didn't dial 911, so he didn't technically violate the law. That's absurd, and he got off. He got off from an all-white jury. So in my chat, I don't want to see any fragility. None. Law enforcement is awful. And if anyone doesn't, if anyone disagrees with me, if you have over 1,000 followers, I don't want to see you in the chat talking smack. I want to see you talking to me. Right? Because my thing is that if you support law enforcement, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't support tyranny, so therefore I don't support U.S. law enforcement. I actually care about the U.S. taxpayer. Right? I care about the U.S. taxpayer. You got a bunch of people out here who want me to support police officers who are the enemy of the people. They are the enemy of the people, and they have always been the enemy of the people. Whenever there is a law out there that violates your rights, guess who enforces that law? U.S. law enforcement. No matter what the law is either. They all enforce the same tyranny. Like, for example, it doesn't matter how you feel about Second Amendment, because guess who's going to enforce that stuff at the end of the day? I guarantee you there's going to be, even if you say, well, my local sheriff and my local police chief, they said that they're not going to actually enforce it. It doesn't matter, because guess what? There's going to be somebody else who will. Police chiefs can be removed and replaced all the time if they don't fit the political agenda. You know that. And sheriffs, same thing. Police chiefs and police unions, right? They have a lot of political power. A lot of you are discovering that now. Many of you are discovering that. Like, for example, when you look at Uvalde, right? When you look at Uvalde, and by the way, Kate, Kai, the Hawaiian guy, you have over 1,000 followers. I love for you to hop on. Love you to hop on. I love having a conversation with you. But the thing is that when you look at the overall facts, police officers cost us a net negative. No matter what you're talking about, right? They are a net negative. They cost us money in police misconduct settlements. They cost us money whenever we got to gear them up. They cost us money every time there's a settlement in court. They cost us money every time they have to get a lawyer when their police unions have to actually take somebody to court. They get taxpayer funds. Did you know that? They get federal funds. Did you actually know that? They get federal funds. Federal funds. Right? So with that being said, they're getting your money every which way to Sunday. And there's people out there who are speaking on your behalf saying that that's cool. That's not cool to me. Right? All those police officers who were present in Uvalde, all those police officers who were present all across the world, right? What do they actually do? It's not the police who keep your neighborhood safe. It's your Second Amendment and citizens who keep your neighborhood safe. You don't rely on the government or government workers. Right? And the thing about it is that when you give so much power to U.S. law enforcement and you give them so much protections from legal liability, right? With that being said, the problem with that is that it gets to the point is that even if you support U.S. law enforcement, you have to concede they are a problem. You would have to see that. Because if there's even one cop in this country who's enforcing gun control, that is a problem. And they've been doing it all across the country, especially in places like California, New York, even Texas. So you can't just say, oh, Democrats. No, it's not just them. It's not just them. And you know it. Even in Florida, they've been enforcing gun control. So if you talk around that, you got to leave my chat. I don't care for people who love the boot. And therefore, if you love the boot, you got to get the boot. Nope, not on my channel. I don't care if you're left wing, right wing. I don't care what color you are. You ain't gonna do that here. I don't care for that kind of stuff. I care for people who's gonna believe in liberty and freedom, not in some singlistic idea of a politician. No, thank you. No, thank you. And it's not about qualified immunity. Everyone says, "Oh, we got to get rid of qualified immunity. We just got to retrain them." No, we just got to get rid of the whole profession and put the power back into the hands of the people. This ain't about accountability. See, accountability, that doesn't mean anything at this point, because when you got all white juries who's willing to acquit a racist white sheriff when he's clearly guilty on a technicality, well, then that lets me know that having the so-called accountability, that doesn't really matter. Get rid of the whole system. Let black folks judge black folks. Let black folks deal with black folks. Let other people deal with they folks. They know. Communities know how to best deal with their particular riffraffs. Communities know how to best deal with their problematic elements, because let's be honest, one of the first responses to people saying, well, we could just fix policing if we get more black people there. Well, then let's get more black people from the neighborhood to police our own neighborhoods then. Same thing happening, right? Why not, instead of you locking up the gang member, right? And since the gang member already controls certain parts of the neighborhood and people already know that, and you already know Everyone there knows them. Why not just simply employ them? Right? It's better than policing. I mean, certainly speaking, if you live in certain neighborhoods, you're going to deal with those particular gangs anyways. So why not essentially take something that you consider the problem and have it be a solution for another problem? Why not that? We can all coexist without cops, absolutely. And we know that people will become corrupt, but guess what? Those people don't have qualified immunity. See, at this point, it is much easier to sell the concept of getting rid of police and having citizen patrols versus us trying to reform police. Because the fact matter is, the second that we reform them, right, they're just going to roll back the reforms like they're doing now in several cities across the country. So if you want to sell the whole reform thing, you got to convince me that your fellow white man and your fellow so-called ally is not going to just vote somebody in who's going to go against it, because they do that intentionally. They sat there and they sold us Joe Biden. They sold us Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he was the greatest thing ever. Joe Biden is wonderful. He's going to care about us black people. And they said that, right? And the moment that Joe Biden got into the White House, he promised reforms to the police, right? Did he not? I'm pretty sure I heard that. I'm black and I know what I heard that. I heard it. And what did he do? The exact opposite. He funded the police at a level that we had never seen before. This man who also crafted that crime bill that got so many of my people locked up, this man funded the police at a level that we haven't seen before. And your so-called fake allies, right? Your fake allies, they sat there and argued you down. If you were a black person and you dared say anything against Joe Biden, oh man, you're terrible. Oh, we got to cancel you. Oh, we got to get you out of here. Oh, we got to go and DM and message other black creators to make sure that they all make videos against you. That's what they did. They didn't want to have an honest, straight up freaking debate. They were doing that behind people's backs. Imagine just for a second what would have happened to Ed Troyer and every other racist white sheriff in this country if your fake white allies showed that much, show even half of that energy towards the racists in this country. Joe Biden said that you weren't black if you didn't like him, right? So that's my thing. I don't want to hear all these people with all this explaining. The people love police only because they go after black people. That's it. That's it. Some people like police because they go after black people. And if you like police, you don't like black people. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. If you like police, I guarantee you there is a correlation between liking police and not liking black people. We all know this. Look at the most ardent supporters of the police. A lot of times they tend to be white. A lot of times they tend to be very, very white ring. And a lot of times they tend to use very, very racist language. 1350 and talk about Chicago. That kind of stuff. So that is a fact. You can't talk around that. Can't talk around that. It's a hard fact. People go around making these lies. Oh, that's not the case. Show me a case in which I'm wrong. Show me a case in which someone is supporting the police hardcore, and yet when I look around them, I don't find a little bit of racism. Even the black people, right? The Candace Owens types. You can't show me one. And even if you did, right, I'm going to show you 5 or 10 other examples where that's not the case. And we can do that back and forth. So let's cut the cap, man. Cut the cap. Listen, I'm so done with people lying about white supremacy. I'm so done with people lying about the reality of this country. The reality of this country is everybody gets on code when it comes to getting at black folks. Everybody gets on code, right? Against us. Everybody claims to be a person of color. Everyone claims to be a minority until it's time to go against us. And then everyone's on code. Everyone, it's just like Dave Chappelle said. Everyone is a minority until it's time to be white. That's why they wanted to walk out of that Netflix special. It had nothing to do with no Dave Chappelle being offensive. It had all to do with that one particular line because that one particular line exposes it actually exposes a lot. Don't get me wrong, Dave Chappelle right now, he doesn't have my highest opinion. Don't get me wrong. But what he said there was true. Everybody is a minority until it's time to be white. See, everybody talk about I'm a minority until it's time for Kyrie Irving. Then everybody said, and then everyone started acting and behaving much like white society acts and behaves when it comes to a white person who when it comes to a black person who says anything that they don't care for. See, that's when it definitely shows how people actually feel about you. Look at Clarence Thomas, right? I don't agree with nothing that Clarence Thomas says, but look at some of the language that was used with Clarence Thomas, and people sat around saying all that stuff around us like oh, he's this and that, and black folks sitting up like, I mean, I agree, but you shouldn't be saying that. Whoa, what kind of language are you using there? Or you look at Kanye, right? Kanye, I don't agree with nothing that Kanye says, but look at some of the language that people have been using. Right? So if a person says something offensive, does that give you a right to say things that you know are a little bit racist? That you know has a certain particular context? That you know that if you said that to any other black person in any other context, in any other space, you know how we would look at you? See, that's my thing, right? That's my thing. My thing is that you got white folks in this country who hold black people who are not actually paid to protect neighborhoods, who are not paid to serve and protect, even though cops don't serve and protect. Cops don't have a constitutional duty to even protect you. You can go look that up. You hold black men to a higher standard than the very officers who are claiming to serve and protect you, even though we saw in Uvalde how that actually turns out. You hold us to a higher standard than the very police officers that your tax dollars are being siphoned for. You hold us to a higher standard than the police officers who ride around in your neighborhood with guns on them. You hold black men to a higher standard than the very people who are supposed to be stopping, the horrible people out there. You look at, for example, Law and Order SVU. Law and Order SVU displays a lot of propaganda, a lot of fantasy, because none of that stuff is true. Because the real life Law and Order SVU is being investigated by the federal government, right? Because they've been actually targeting victims, apparently. Not investigating actual crimes. Low conviction rate, low case solve rate, saying all kind of horrible things to victims. The federal government is looking into them currently. So you mean tell me that the very thing that people romanticize as propaganda, saying that oh, these cops are heroes, the very thing that it is based off, right? The very thing that it is based off, it's based on a freaking lie. Based on a lie. And people want me to sit here and support police officers. People want me to sit here and look at police officers as anything other than an enormous tax burden. Because that's what they are. They don't actually protect you. Do you know that cops only really show up to a violent crime about 4 to 6% of the time? Out of 100% of calls, less than 10%. In fact, oftentimes less than 5%, like 4%, are actually by anything violent. And even when they show up, the vast majority of those times, the perpetrator is already gone. They have no obligation to protect you. In fact, the case that one of the many cases that set that particular precedent was, I believe it was Gonzalez v. Town of Castle Rock. So there was a case in Colorado, I believe. It's a mom, and she had a restraining order against the husband, the ex-husband, and she had 2 daughters. And the ex-husband got in contact with the 2 daughters and picked them up, took them away. And apparently, the husband did something horrible, and they were all gone. So the mom tried to sue the town of Castle Rock and their police department, and it went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says that the Constitution says that the cops, that the U.S. law enforcement have no constitutional duty to even protect you. That was the actual ruling. And that's been the precedent that's been on the books for more than a decade now. That case, I think, happened in the early 2000s. So we're going on two decades now. That case has been the actual precedent. So cops have no constitutional duty to even protect you. That's been the case for the longest time. They have no constitutional duty to protect you. So when people say that cops serve and protect, first of all, when that case was set as a precedent, many police departments around the country removed the word protect from their vehicles. So that lets you know that cops don't actually protect you. They never have. Their only duty is to suppress black people, which is what they do very, very well. It's almost like they were intended to actually do that, because that's all they do very, very well. And that's what it's been with U.S. law enforcement. That's what it's been. In fact, give me a second. I'm going to look up something real quick. Town of Castle Rock v. Gonzalez. So I'm going to look something up real quick, and I'm going to show you something on screen. I want you to see this real quick. I want you to see the fact that cops don't have a constitutional duty to protect you. Police don't have to protect. So here, I'm going to show you something real quick. Police have no duty to protect you. I want you to see this real quick. I want you to see what Blue Lives Matter and what people who support police officers, what they've been supporting the whole time. I want you to see this. I want you to see the facts. So, police have no duty to protect you. This is from the Mises Institute. Police have no duty to protect you, federal court affirms yet again. So, I want you to see this right. This is from 2018. Following last February shootings of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, some students were trying to sue the police because they didn't protect the children in Florida. And what we found here, I want to make this larger here. I want you to see this. What they found here, right, says on Monday, though, a federal judge ruled that the government agencies had no constitutional duty to protect students who were not in custody. So they have no duty, unless you're in their custody, they have no duty to protect you. So here's the actual ruling, right? I want you, this latest decision adds to a growing body of case law establishing that government agencies, including police agencies, have no duty to provide protection to citizens in general. I want you to see this right here, quick, right? It says, neither the Constitution nor state law impose a general duty upon police officers or other government officials to protect individual persons from harm, even when they know harm will occur, right? Police can watch someone attack you, refuse to intervene, and not violate the Constitution, right? Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the government has only a duty to protect persons who are in custody, he pointed out. So that means that before the police place you under arrest, they can do whatever they particularly want, and it won't be seen as them not protecting you because they have no duty to even do that. This is why so many police officers get away with pretty much anything. A police officer could just walk into your house right now, violate a law, not be sued in federal court, because if they, for example, came into your house, they could be wearing a police uniform, but they could be wearing, like, let's say, for example, a clown hat on their uniform. That is something that is categorically different than what is seen in established case law. Hey, can a police officer come into my home doing a no-knock raid on the wrong on the wrong home with a clown hat on? That one particular feature, I'm telling you, I work law enforcement. That one thing, the clown hat, it would allow the officer to get off. It is that insane. It has to be specific. Now, my wife is a court reporter, right, baby?
Yep.
I need you to speak a little bit louder, right, baby?
Yep.
So you transcribe these cases, right?
Yep.
You know that qualified immunity, it has to be specific, right?
Yep.
How specific?
Like verbatim.
Verbatim. So if a police officer wore a clown hat but violated the law clearly, he could actually get off.
Yeah, if the circumstances fit under qualified immunity and if he was on duty.
So that's the person who transcribes the court cases telling you what I just said. I work law enforcement. She works in courts. I'm telling you, they can get off with anything in the world so long as one factor is different. So long as one factor, like for example, there was a police officer who allowed their police dog to just attack someone and they didn't even stop the police dog. They sat there and they watched it. Now, mind you, they are a canine officer, so they obviously know how to handle their particular dog. Otherwise, why are they a canine officer? He sat there and watched and did nothing. The person got seriously injured. The particular officer faced no punishment because of qualified immunity, and the grand jury refused to indict him on criminal charges. So he just got off scot-free. So, like I told you, qualified immunity protected that officer because it was so specific. No particular officer had used a police dog to attack someone and didn't even stop it. So. What did the guy do? He ran from the police. Now, this guy, this particular cop, watched this dog go at this man for almost 10 minutes. And he sat there for almost 10 minutes and did nothing. and qualified immunity says, hey, you can't take me to civil court because there's no precedent set for that. That is wild. That is so I want you to understand, right? I want you to understand, right? If you ever did that, it doesn't matter what the circumstance was. Let's say somebody breaks into your house, right? And you sat there and you watch your dog go at this person for over 10 minutes. You're going to jail. I'm telling you now, I work corrections. You're going to jail. There's no if. There's no if there. You are.
Private citizens have more of a duty to not do harm to other people.
Yeah.
Than cops have to protect.
I want you guys to hear this. My wife is a court reporter. She transcribes court cases with police misconduct, medical stuff. It doesn't matter. Baby, repeat that again.
Private citizens have more of a duty to not harm each other legally than cops have to protect private citizens.
And she transcribes all the cases. So who can argue with this woman? Who is more qualified? Listen, she's in more court cases than even lawyers because lawyers don't show up in court all day long. The court reporter has to. So she knows law better than most lawyers do. You understand that, right? It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a cop or anything else. She knows the outcome of every case because she transcribes all of them. So she knows exactly the arguments that would absolutely win. So with that being said, if the person who's transcribing all the cases, right, is telling you this, what should be your response as a citizen? You should go to your government, go to your local officials, and defund the police. We will take care of our own neighborhoods. Fund our own state militias. Fund our own neighborhood ones. We will hire private security, because with all the money that you're paying for police misconduct settlements, you can afford private security for your own neighborhood. Like for example, here in Washington State, there was a guy in Kent, Washington, the assistant police chief. His name was Derek Camerzell. Derek Camerzell was a goose stepper. He put up Yahtzee stuff, you know, and he built a Yahtzee memorial in a public funded park. It was found out by other police officers. He even put some Yahtzee rank on his office door, and he didn't remove it until other officers, one of which was actually Jewish, complained. And do you know what happened to Derek Camerzell? He wasn't fired. They paid him $1.5 million to retire. To retire. They canceled Kyrie Irving for a link. But they gave Derek Camerzell $1.5 million to retire. In the same state, they just let off a racist white sheriff who followed and harassed a black man and lied on him. The police, Tacoma police, accused him of that. Not the actual black man. Tacoma police accused him of that. He gets off on a technicality because he didn't exactly dial 911. He dialed a direct line for law enforcement. That's why he got off. An all-white jury let him off. An all-white jury. So don't come at me talking about, well, they just need reform. They need more than that. They need to go. Complete overhaul. They need to go. We need to reimagine policing, because as it stands right now, policing is awful. It's awful. It's awful. Absolutely.
I mean, look at what they did to Brenda Bryant. They bankrupted her.
Exactly.
She's white. They don't care.
Exactly. Dr. Truth, hop on. Hop on, sir. And the militia would do absolutely better, because militia doesn't have qualified immunity.
Yep.
I could take them to civil court then.
Yep.
But see, the thing about it is that people who don't want the police to change, these people don't like black people. I guarantee you. Even some of the black ones, when you look into them and some of their content, right? They are the exact same way. And I love it when you have white people who try to boost up black creators, right? I love that. We can dance in the morning. No, we can not dance at all. I don't want to see keyboard warriors in my chat. No, if you can sit there and type out stuff, you can hop on. Okay? Don't want to see that. No, but the thing about it is that people who love police officers, they are exclusively anti-black, almost exclusively. Yeah. The government, it goes, yeah. The government is definitely our enemy, but police officers, number one. Right.
Police officers are just the agents of the government carrying out the laws.
And if I see any talk about reparations should be given to some other groups, Maz, ban that from the chat. We don't want to see that kind of stuff. We don't have time for anti-black racism in this country. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for anti-black racists who just love the police, because people who love the police, you will turn around and say, oh, I'm into punk rock, oh, I'm anti-government, oh, I'm small government. If you support the police at the funding that we're giving them, you are against the American people. You are. You have no problem with police getting essentially welfare. You have no problem with that. No problem with that. And the issue that I have with that overall when it comes to U.S. law enforcement is that you're speaking for me. You want my money to go to police even though you haven't asked me what my opinion is. And it ain't about qualified immunity. Qualified immunity, it goes deeper than that, because, see, qualified immunity, that isn't what had the racist white sheriff Ed Troyer, that isn't what allowed him to get off. An all-white jury allowed him to get off. So what we got to do is we got to get rid of policing as a whole. And if white neighborhoods want to keep policing as they are, sure. But as for me and as for black people, right? And people who love black people, we don't want your police. We good. I'm good on policing. I'm good on qualified immunity. I'm good on reform. I'm good. And yes, Jason Gonzalez, I don't get to choose where my taxes go. However, Jason Gonzalez, let me tell you what I also don't choose. I don't choose to have a police department come and police me when I know that they are racist. I'm good on that. So you can leave my chat, sir. I don't have time or patience with people like that. Police have been useless since day one. They've only been useful for one thing. One thing and one thing only. Going after black people, which is why the 6th leading cause of leaving the earth for black men is the police. It's almost like that's what they were intended for. It's almost like that's what they were always intended for. That's why people like Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the actual anti-black racists, that's why they have no problem funding them. They're both anti-black racists. That's why they love the police. They love the police. They're the biggest fans because the police target black people, and nothing could make Joe Biden happier. Nothing could make Donald Trump over the moon. Right? It doesn't matter if you are white and you happen to be messed with by the police. We understand what the numbers say. Okay? Not saying the police don't target white people too. What I'm saying is that they are intended to hold us down, and as a byproduct, they target white people as well. When there's not enough black people to actually go after. Right? Because notice how you don't find a lot of black people who are Black Panthers who are joining police departments. You don't find that a lot, but you find a lot of Proud Boys, a lot of Oath Keepers, those people who are joining police departments. So you can't just say, "Well, I'm white and I was targeted too," when that's happening. Okay? You can't say that because that's called distracting. See, that kind of talk is what got us into this whole spiel now. The only reason why the police treat poor white people the exact same way that black people are treated is mainly because they see them as us. That's it. That's the only reason why. That's the only reason why. This is how white supremacy hurts white people too. But they won't see that though. They won't see it. Because of hatred of us. And that's so unfortunate. What's unfortunate about that is that overall, the country will do better if we actually allow people to police their own neighborhoods with money that is pulled from those neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods know what those neighborhoods need. Yeah. But with this whole wide net approach that we have to policing, you see what we're getting. You're giving qualified immunity to people who are no different than gangsters, no different than MS-13 or any other gang.
Special needs people wouldn't be killed by the cops.
Yep, that's what it is. So that's gonna be it for me tonight. It's gonna be it for me tonight, guys. I don't have any more else in me. I love you all. Be safe. Horns up. Peace out. Good night and good luck.